All right. Hello, Gemini. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, your day is getting off to a great start. We're going to map out your monthly forecast here in just a few moments, looking at the next 6 to 8 weeks, and hopefully empowering you to make some great choices. I'm going to put down my furry assistant here, Apollo, and we'll get started. Thanks, buddy. All right. So my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and this is your monthly forecast, which can be used for any aspect of your chart, including Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Special note, we will be looking at Sun, Moon, and Rising a little bit later in this forecast, so stick around if you need some sort of like direct steering in either of those directions. The way that this is organized quickly, just so that you know what's in store, is right here. I begin with channeled messages, which come through dreams and meditation. Then we'll move on to the Celtic Cross, and I let that take any shape or form that it needs to, and then I expand it to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. The rest of the forecast is very interactive. There'll be opportunities to vote on certain things, including the choice of cards, including some questions that I think that might be worth exploring. You get a chance to sort of help steer it. And then again, towards the end, we'll look at sun, rising, and moon. And I always leave room for an opportunity for you to meditate on a question. So rather than typing anything out while I'm talking, just save those questions until later, and you'll have a chance to ask them then. All right, so let's get into the channeled messages. Channeled messages, like I said, come through dreams and meditation. And today I was getting a very strong connection to the earth. And the image, interestingly enough, that I was shown was that of like a tuber or a potato. So that's what I went with for your totem for today. And this is kind of a really powerful energy, because we often, especially intuitive people, don't spend a lot of time in the lower 3 or 4 chakras. We usually kind of start with like third eye and crown. You really need to make sure that first, second, and third, that your root and sacral and solar plexus are in a really good place. Just like a tree or a plant, if you neglect that, things are not ideal. So we're going to look at that root chakra, and then we're also going to look at balancing out choices in your life. So a lot of energy around power and balancing out power, and also creating a nice firm foundation for you. So I actually love this image, which is from the Light Seers deck. It looks just like I would expect an ace card to look, like a seed or something that you're going to plant. And this one almost reminds me of a potato, which is why I chose it. Couple of facts about potatoes. Basically, we're eating the roots of a plant. It grows underground. They're a type of rhizome, and because it's earth-bound energy, it's kind of a reminder to ground yourself in an intention. Another image that I could have chosen for this is like the Two of Wands, because it's going to be a combination of the two. I would say it's like chicken and the egg. It sometimes depends which one you're kind of feeling more connected to, whether you're daydreaming and then you plant it, or you take something that you've maybe have in front of you as a resource and you think, what can I do with this? So the two can kind of work together, but you need to know where you're going. And then that gives you sort of fuel to your fire, so to speak. Seed of intention, also really important, so that other people know where you stand. Because sometimes people will ask you for that elevator pitch in your life, and they'll say, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you want? That what do you want moment can be really valuable, not just in a relationship, but also if you have like a work opportunity where someone comes to you and they want to know how you want to develop, or if you want something that they've lined up for you. So always be ready and willing to say what you need or say what you want, because that's the key that unlocks things for the universe. So speaking of the key, nice transition into this next card, another one that I also featured from the Light Seers deck. With the root chakra, a lot of times when we rely on others as a child, those basic needs, safety, security in particular, sometimes they're not met because either someone is just negligent, they didn't have the training, capacity, or desire to take care of you in the way that you needed to be taken care of, or maybe they just didn't know how. But no matter what, whether it was on purpose or just by accident or neglect, what that can do is create a bit of a soul scar or an energetic kind of crinkle in our system. And the perfect card to kind of summarize that would be the Five of Pentacles, because then our growth gets stunted. It does not mean that we cannot heal. It means that there needs to be a little bit of work and massaging done so that new growth can come through. You always have the potential to grow, but think of it this way. I like to use the example of bonsai sometimes because a bonsai tree is purposely kept small. You trim the roots, you keep it root bound, you trim the branches. They don't feed it and water it the way that they should. So you get this beautiful small, it's a piece of art, but it's also stunted. So energetically, I wouldn't probably own a bonsai because I don't like what it represents energetically. I want something to grow. So what we want to do is sort of like pull you out of that. You can actually take a bonsai tree and slowly bring it back into growing again. It would take time. You can't just put it into the ground. It would probably go into shock and possibly die. You have to sort of slowly show it that it's okay. So kind of like that for human beings as well. There are parts of your life where you have the capacity to grow again, but you need nurturing, you need support, you need to sort of give yourself room to explore. So if someone in your life wasn't there for you the way they should have been there, we see this beautiful illustration of the Five of Pentacles showing the key against the door. So it's really a chance for you to sort of say, I believe in myself, I trust myself, and I'm ready and willing to take that key. Let me just say hi to my dog in the background and tuck him in. Hey, buddy. Come here. That's okay. Have a seat. You're okay. Good boy. So just like I did with Apollo there, sometimes you just need a little bit of support. And look, he relaxed. And that's something I learned. I give him a little blanket and a toy and he's good. In our own lives, sometimes that's all we need is a little bit of support. And just like Apollo, we're going to be okay. It's kind of interesting. He's very sensitive to the energy of what's going on. So I'm talking about not having the support and love that you needed. He's a rescue, and that was very true. He went through like 4 foster homes. He was hit by a car at one point. He ran away. There's a lot of kind of crazy stuff in his past. So when he gets anxious and things like that, I know that it's just nerves. So we all have nerves. We can all move past it. We can all thrive. And sometimes we just need someone in our life to help us through that. So if you need help in that part, maybe it's a mentor, a friend, it could be a counselor. Get what you need because you have what it takes to grow. And the key has always been there. This particular card always reminds me of Everything But the Girl song called 25th of December. And he's saying that he can like always open the door. It was always there. There was always the key there. And that's what I see with this particular illustration is all you have to do is kind of open the door. It was there all along. So when this part of your energy thrives, which is basically base of your spine and below, so does the rest of your life. It is like the roots that hold a tree upright and feed it all of the water and the nutrients from the ground. So when we stand tall, when we believe in ourselves, we have the capacity also to grow and to expand. So some healing is part of this month's sort of exploration when we look at the cards, and I hope I can help you heal and grow and thrive. Taking a calculated leap of faith is really important. Of course, I would pull the Fool in for this one. Sometimes we have to kind of look at it from a different perspective. Safety, which is what the previous slide was all about, sometimes holds us back. Sometimes people want you to be held back. So the reason that they would put in the energy of the Five of Pentacles is so you wouldn't walk through that door, right? They could say, well, but wait, you've got so much to lose. What if this happens? What if this happens? And I've been talking about, well, what if the positive happens too? And if you've got nothing to lose, you probably have nothing to gain either. Now, I'm not advocating gambling. What I am advocating is when we move, when we experience new things, try new things, like let's say you're going to take a relationship to the next level by moving in with somebody. There's a risk associated with that. Their habits may drive you crazy. You may have some more arguments because there's more time being spent, but you might also go into a deeper and more meaningful relationship and find that you get along very well and you complement one another. If you don't try it, you're not going to know where it leads. Same thing with cooking. We had to try different pairings to figure out, sometimes if you put a little salt on top of this sweet element, it actually brings out the flavor. So things don't have to be the same. They don't have to be tried and true. Sometimes an odd match might be perfect, and sometimes a risk is going to pan out. You won't know unless you try it. So the Fool is coming through as an expansion of what we've looked at with the grounding and root chakra, the Five of Pentacles, and now it's saying, let's give it a try. Why not? Why not? Be ready and willing to take a risk on yourself, to invest in yourself, particularly when we're looking at skills and education and training. All of those things are wise investments. And then one thing to kind of think about here is that stagnation, staying in that closed room, it's actually the antithesis of growth because you're not going anywhere, you're just standing still. So sometimes you might try to grow here and it doesn't quite work. You reach here, it's a little bit better, then you go in this direction and that's where you needed to. You have to keep trying, you have to keep reaching for the light, just like a plant would, okay? It's all about choices. And no card sums it up better than the Six of Pentacles because, I mean, I would say justice has it there as well, but what I like about the Six of Pentacles is you have maybe a little bit more freedom. The Justice card is sometimes do or don't. With the Six of Pentacles, you have choices in time, choices in amount, choices in also yes or no as well. Every word, action, and thought comprises energy. It contains energy. So use these things wisely. This is going to be very important. I kind of got a flash in my head of, Five of Swords energy. If there's someone in your life and they just annoy you or you can't communicate with them, the best thing to do is to change the mental channel and think, all right, that's not working. That's not a wise investment. I also don't like how I feel when I think about that or when I'm doing this. So we change the mental frequency, change the channel and say, but I do like that. And this is receptive. And that person seems to really connect well with me. So I'm going to spend my time and energy on these things rather than that. You're either moving forward or you need to move on. So another energy that I could put here is like Six of Swords, but it all stems from the Six of Pentacles, which is why that's the one that I chose, because it's saying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then like none of that over there. So choices are everything. And then I wanted to end with this before we get into the reading here. You hold the key. This is one of my favorite Hierophant cards because it's a modern interpretation versus the Hierophant with the two disciples and the keys that are crossed in front of him, because that is the old school method of having to have one gatekeeper. Yes, there may still be gatekeepers. There still may be people in your life that try to play the role of gatekeeper and tell you no, or you can't, or you shouldn't. If one of those doors closes, you have this skeleton key here to open a new door. So this, the last two sentences are really important. Last three, actually. So I said this on the Weekend Collective and I wanted to reiterate it today, but basically the universe conspires to help you. Conspire I use as a sort of ironic term. It's there to help you. It's not actually conspiring. You are an active co-creator in your journey, something I've been reiterating a lot as well. And for those of you that maybe remember this in the 80s and 90s, there were books called Choose Your Own Adventure. And basically, you would be kind of leafing through the book, and then there would be choices. A lot of times it was like a mystery or, again, some sort of fantasy type thing. But you'd be leafing through, and then there'd be a choice, and it would say, to open the door, go to page 25. To close the door, go to page 27 or something like that. To take the bus or to stay home. You would have these action choices. And then you could read that outcome. And then, of course, most of us would go back and see, well, what happens if I do this? And you would have maybe a dozen or so different options in a story. And it was kind of fun as a kid. But the truth of the matter is we have that as an adult. Every single moment we get to choose this or this. As I'm looking at cards today, I get choices. When you get to vote on things, you get choices. So that's why I like to incorporate voting in my readings, because you get to shape them as well if you decide to get up and watch the reading with me. So I want you to realize that there's power in the choices. And since we're focusing on giving you power, you have power. And I'm just reminding you of that. So that skeleton key is your decision, how you're feeling about it, your heart, and then the action that you decide to take with all of that being pulled together. Okay? So we'll end it with this sort of understanding that you hold the key, you are the key, you make these decisions, you choose your own adventure. All right? Let's go ahead now and select some different cards that you can use or that I can use to help you read today. So let's zoom in so you can see everything. And I'm going to feature a couple of the decks that we saw there. We'll go with the lights here. I'm also going to pull the Wild Unknown, and then we're going to look at some other ones. So give me a second to go shopping in my selection of decks here. Okay. And so again, kicking it off, I think I'm going to do those two because I was looking at them. So just so you can see, these are those two. So let's take a look at what else is coming through here. Let's see. Perhaps we'll do, let's see, the field, because I did fountain on the weekend. There's the Hierophant showing up. And let's see what else is calling here. Oh, maybe Divine, Tarot of the Divine. Okay, I see Everyday Witch. That's a good choice too, but let's see what else. I'm going to do one more that's just maybe a little bit more out there, because I do like kind of, oh yes, we'll do Raven's Prophecy. Okay. All right, so we're going to go with these options for today, and then I'll pull a few cards from each so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so give me a second to set the poll up, and we'll go from here. All right, so we have the Light Seers. We have Wild Unknown. And then we have the Field Tarot, and then Raven's Prophecy, which I haven't put out there for a while. So let me show you each of these, and you can make a decision based on that. All right, so this is the Light Seers deck. It had that sort of Ace of Pentacles energy that I was showing you in the Five of Pentacles, so that was option number one. And now we have the Wild Unknown, which is beautiful, illustrated, black and white with like pops of color, more based with animals than anything else, so it's a nature totem deck. And then we have this sort of abstract deck, which is Field. It looks a lot like Fountain. Sometimes I get the two messed up because their names are similar. Flat illustrations with some textures on it. Rider-Waite-Smith derivative, but has its own sort of vibe. And then we have the Raven's Prophecy, which was one that I'd originally gotten for Halloween, but it came in late, but I like it. Also a little bit nature-oriented, more basic symbols, not as kind of complicated. We're looking at all the pip cards. There you go. So let's see which one is in the lead. It looks like by a wild lead, we have the Wild Unknown, so we're going to go with that. Thank you, everyone, for voting and giving me a moment to look at the different options. All right, let's begin and take a look and see what's coming through. All right, so again, we're going to do the Celtic Cross next, looking at the next 6 to 8 weeks for your sign. And you can always use this again for any aspect of your chart. We will look at sun, rising, and moon a little bit later in more detail. So let me just get my camera view set up here so I can see it. All right, here we go. I always read 1 month in advance, so you can also watch the June reading. This is for July, and have the two come together. Glad you chose this. This is one of my favorite decks. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of the Wands and Swords because they don't put labels and they're very similar, but I do love all the animals, all the colors. It's really just a beautiful deck to look at, right? It's basically a work of art. Always nice to see different interpretations. All right, let me get the rest of the cards set up and we'll break down all of the messages. Really beautiful selection of cards today. Let's see what messages are coming through for you, starting with Lord Ganesh here. We have revelation. And so something is on the precipice of being shown or revealed to you. You may also have like an epiphany, this moment of realization where suddenly everything's a little bit clearer. And the cool thing with revelation is that sometimes it's right under your nose, right? What you're looking for. It just takes a different sort of set of experiences to like kind of remind you why something is important or how it's going to factor into this. So I look at this and it almost reminds me of magician type energy, particularly if you think of the magician in the Lightseer's deck where he's kind of at this well of energy. And so sometimes you just need to look at things a second time rather to get the big picture. So that's my advice on this, is to look at what's around you, reevaluate. You may have a hidden gem right in your grasp, right in your periphery, and it just takes a second glance or a different sort of consideration this time around. Let's look at your center card, which was really nicely connected to what we were talking about, the root chakra here. We have the Empress, but she's illustrated as a tree, which is unique. Let's look at this card here. Kind of reminds me of that old story, The Giving Tree, because that there is very like divine feminine energy that's a part of a tree as well. It bears fruits, it's strong, it provides shade, it provides a lot of things. So many of you have taken on that role of provider, and maybe like the tree in that story, you give and give and give, even until the very end when there's just like a stump, right? So the key in this one, though, is that you do not have to give things up. You don't have to become that sort of stump in order to like show that you would do anything. The important thing here is to maintain your ability also to be strong, to be nourished, to give, and to receive. So for those of you that are a parent, a teacher, a doctor, or a therapist, or any way, shape, or form kind of provide a service for other people, including like contractors out there and artists. There's so many different professions and types of work and types of people out there that help others. This is saying, remember that you also matter. And especially if you are a caretaker for someone who is dependent upon you, like younger, sicker, or less capable, this is saying you've got to take care of yourself because you are the rock, you are the foundation from which everything is going to sort of grow and depend upon. So take care of yourself. Now, this is a super powerful card. I don't read gender, I just read ranks when we're looking at Empress and Emperor. So this tells me that you've done most of the work that you need to really step into a role, but there may be a little bit of hesitation here. So the root chakra, like we said, is the key to getting up to the next level. So you're doing great. What I do like about the Empress overall, though, is it has more capacity for nurturing. So this is why I don't think the Empress is better than the Emperor or vice versa. When I look at Empress, I see ability to grow, nurture, and create. When I see Emperor, I see someone who's more focused on taking action, leading, not necessarily listening, not necessarily sort of doing the nurturing. So this point in time, there's a little bit of nurturing that has to happen. Again, very much connected to the messages that we talked about earlier. So nurture yourself, nurture others, and know that growth will happen. You can't really tell what season this tree is in, but let's imagine that it's just coming through winter and spring. So we know that there is going to be flowering and fruit and great things on the horizon as well. So let's imagine that there's a 3-month trajectory here for you, and it's being crossed here by the Wheel of Fortune. You also have the Ace of Pentacles in the past. So I feel like you're on a really nice growth spurt here, okay? This Wheel of Fortune is illustrated by what looks like a dream catcher. And again, what's kind of cool here, I like to also think of it as like a cosmic spider web, where you're putting out what you want to capture, what you're trying to attain in your life. Again, that would require 2 of Wands energy, saying, I see myself here, I believe I can make this happen, and I'm going to do the work necessary to bring that into fruition, which is why we have the Ace of Pentacles here. Some of you may also be, you might have achieved everything that you set out to achieve in a certain path, because this is power and this is cyclical. This is achievement. This is progress. But there are times where that cycle has played its course And so for some of you, then you're like, all right, I've been there, I've done that. I'm ready now to take from that and try something new. So this is you taking some of the energy, taking some of the resources and planting it. Whenever we have pentacles in reverse, I read them as putting energy into you or into your life, unless it comes up somewhere else in the spread. But this is deciding to do something new with that. And then we see growth there with the Ace of Wands. The two aces are beautiful. This is the seed, and you can literally see the fruits of that labor. And this can also be labor, investment, time, energy, nurturing. So you actually have 4 beautiful cards here. There's nothing negative. We have something here, but we'll talk about that. But when it comes to you, your contributions, your energy, it's all beautiful so far. Empress, Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. Couldn't ask for a better set of cards to begin the spread. And this is all of your sort of potential and foundation energy. So it's looking good so far. Ace of Pentacles in reverse can also be kind of like you at the head of your car deciding to crank it around and go in a different direction. You're changing course a little bit here. When we look at this illustration, it's beautiful because we can see the aggregate of your life experience here. So when you look at a cross section of a tree, you can see years that were where there was a lot of water, where there was very sparse, maybe where there was a fire, because all these things get revealed in the sort of like the story here of the lines of the tree. What this is reminding you is that is that you've had many lives, you've had many experiences in this life. All of them have given you a thicker skin, having given you the capacity to deal with any challenge that's being thrown in your path. So this too will pass, and this, even if it's great, nothing lasts forever. So take it all with a grain of salt, with stride, and just sort of think like, it's a journey, and there's ups and downs. I'm not going to let anything take me off that power of growth and reaching higher and continuing to work on myself. So even though we saw the devil in the environment, which we'll talk about in a second, that's nothing. You've dealt with it before, basically. This is not the end of the world, okay? This can be a lot of things, and we need to kind of work our way through the journey before we worry about it. But you've seen better, you've seen worse, you can handle whatever that is, okay? Also, you need to focus on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So stay focused, because I actually see that whatever it is that you want to do here, we have a beautiful return on that. Ace of Wands, we see growth, it's in the upright position. And always with Ace of Wands, there's a question of, what are you going to do about that idea? What are you going to do about it? Is sort of the homework question. So if you have this desire to travel or go to a certain school or launch your own business or work on self-improvement of some sort, the idea is valid. The capacity to make it happen is there. And now the question is, what do you want to do about it? So, and how are you going to do it? So we want you to go into the daydreaming cards of the Seven of Cups, to look at all of the different places things could take you. Go into the decisive energy of maybe Six of Pentacles, then into the Two of Wands and saying, I have a vision, I have a goal. Then you can use the High Priestess to manifest. So work your way through and figure out who you are, what you want, how you're going to do it. And give yourself a little bit of a deadline, but don't go crazy. I would say within a month, because we have a lot of aces. Two aces here. 1 to 2 months, you should be able to figure it out. And then we see some really quick growth happening here. For some of you, you may just be afraid of how quick it all happens. Now let's move into where your head is at right now. So we've got the Five of Swords, which I mentioned as one of the kind of things to avoid investing in, which is a no-win situation. So the Five of Swords is reversed, but it really doesn't matter so much in the way that she illustrated this. We see a couple of worms or grubs of some sort, and then we see the swords. Let's talk about the traditional illustration of this. I'm going to take the earthworms as a reminder to stay grounded, but I think the traditional Five of Swords is a little easier to wrap your head around while I'm talking about it. So a lot of times with Five of Swords, there is a person in your life that just is incapable, unwilling, or maybe just not ready to listen to you. So a lot of what is happening is it's going in one ear and out the other, like those, I'm sure you've seen illustrations before here. And 5 and 7 of Swords often are cousins in tarot. So you see one, you see the other. So let me see if I can find it. For some reason, it didn't show up here. But the devil is also probably a warning of the investment in that particular energy. So with the five, here it is. Okay, so I've got them both here. I was supposed to find the 7 too. Here's your 5 of Swords. And a lot of times there's someone who also could be trying to get away with something. So these two work in tandem. So both of these, you see people having the swords, and you can cut your losses when you go through this. But with the 5 of Swords, here's how I would normally interpret it. The person isn't going to let you win. The person isn't listening, or the situation isn't receptive to your energy. So it's not an out and out failure. Sometimes through brute energetic force, if you keep trying, you can sometimes achieve one win. But you're going to have to kind of exert that and more each and every time. And if you have to exert so much energy to win, are you really winning, or are you taking, 1 step forward and 2 back, where you're actually going backwards a little bit? So we don't want that. It's not the best investment. And also, usually these two are coming in tandem, and so we'll see someone that knows that this shouldn't be happening, but they don't do anything about it. So what I would say right now is there is a thought, a person, an action, or even an environment in your life that requires too much energy to change or to fix. And what you want to think about is, you can't help someone until they're ready to receive it. It's like a satellite dish pointed in the wrong direction. You have to walk all the way over here, broadcast the signal, come back here and do your stuff. And it's just like, they're not open. So it's better to go somewhere where the vacancy sign is lit, where people want you to come in, and where they're open, kind of accepting you with open arms. Because right now there's just something that isn't the best investment. That could be the revelation. That could be what we're seeing here, okay? So this thought or delivery of energy, it's holding you back. And that's honestly what I see the devil as, is something that is restrictive. This particular illustration doesn't help as much. We're just seeing the go. But always when you see the devil, you'll see chains. And the chains represent sometimes the limiting thoughts that we have for ourselves, the limiting thoughts that we want to exert on others. But at the end of the day, it is limits. Even if it comes from a person that loves you, which is why both the lovers and the devil have a very similar illustration, which we're going to show here, if I can find both of them. And here we go. So these two energies are very, very similar. One is just elevated and one is controlling. So we see the Garden of Eden lovers, and then we see the devil here with the lovers as well, but now they're not free. So here they've got the arms outstretched. Everything is kind of at their disposal, and here we see the chains between them. This is really they're just personifications. This is a blessing, and this is something that is limiting you. So when the devil comes through, it can be a limiting thought. I can't do this. It can be you lying to yourself, saying, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this. Maybe, so usually it's deception or limitation or external sort of limitation as well. You're not capable of doing this because that's the way it goes or whatever. But it doesn't need to be. It's arbitrary and it's not permanent. And we need to kind of, like that Joni Mitchell song, get ourselves back to the garden where we have opportunity and freedom to do what we want to do. Woodstock is the song that she sings that in. So what we're looking at here is the key between these two, if we take it on a diagonal. So this is the bad energetic investment. This is the limiting thought idea, or also the result of that. And here's the key out of there. So we have the 3 of Pentacles. It requires a little work. It's not as much as you think. I like that we have a mountain, but the mountain's in reverse. So it could also be kind of like an iceberg where you're not quite sure of where this investment's going to lead you, but it's worth that climb. It's worth that investment. So the 3 of Pentacles, traditionally you would see someone kind of finishing up their work as an architect, and you see a couple of people with their tablets and they're approving the work done, or they're commenting on it, or they're awarding them, or they're recognizing them. So you have to recognize the potential before someone else can. And no matter how you look at it, it's always pointing up. So the reversal of it, we see the 3 Pentacles and there's a peak. When it's reversed, we still see a peak here. And just like an iceberg, a mountain also kind of reaches beneath. So what I'm seeing here is that you don't even know the potential. This is like the tip of the iceberg. So if you're starting something new, it's going to lead to unexpected places, unexpected journeys, unexpected blessings. This is what the devil's afraid of energetically. And the devil, of course, being whatever it is in your life that wants to kind of keep you where you're at. Okay? And I like to remind people every time I read that the devil you know is still a devil. So if you're staying put because it's safe, safety isn't the only reason to stay. If you're staying for, and there's like, and if you have enough, let's say you've saved up enough to make the change that you need, but you're just staying because it's predictable and it's safe. Make sure that you've weighed everything out. There are options in life like insurance that can help mitigate some of the risk associated with things. So fear is the one sort of limiting energy that keeps playing a part as I'm reading all of these cards. So make sure that the way to kind of get through fear is just through education and planning. So once you've done all the required planning and education, there comes a point where fear is just a feeling. It's not going to hurt you anymore. And once you have enough information in front of you, you know how to overcome that. So I feel like you're on the precipice of breaking through education, training, and then also just deciding to do something is going to be really, really key. This is completion. So the Eight of Pentacles would be like primary school or elementary school. This is like college and graduation. This is where you put all of the sort of stuff together and you're really ready to go out and do something amazing. So whatever it is you're working on, whatever you want to put energy into, I see a return. I think it's going to also be something that you're passionate about. So everything else in the spread is good. We have someone or something in your environment that's coming in and wanting you to stay put or not do what you need to do. If this is your relationship, what I'm seeing here is it's like kind of like a no-win sort of thing. It could be friendship or love. But what we see with the Five of Swords is someone who's not receptive to hearing constructive criticism, who won't let you sometimes be right. And it's frustrating. It could also be a secret kept and a secret revealed. They're not going to get away with it, whatever is going on here. Also, you shouldn't keep a secret because the catalyst this month is saying, whatever's going on here, Lord Ganesha has your back and it's going to be revealed. The time, well, that's kind of up to you and that's up to the universe, but we do see that there'll be a revelation happening. So get away from this. If there's someone who's acting poorly, who's gossiping, who is trying to do something just overtly wrong, whether it's small or big, that's going to come back. And one thing to remember when it comes to devil energy is the devil always wins. You never make out ahead. So even if someone does have a short-term gain, they have long-term losses for that short-term gain. So don't get upset and don't get in their business and clear yourself of that because you don't want to be associated with that. Why? Because some really great things are happening around this. So environmentally, someone or something to keep an eye out for. But what you can do is put yourself in your work and then also use your voice if you need to. Talk to this person, speak up, document things because that's what a Knight of Swords would do. Knights do the right thing. Get a bird's eye view of the situation too. And that's going to be an important thing for you to kind of understand where you stand. Don't worry about what they say. Where do you stand? What does it look like from afar? And maybe you need to take some time away or take some time off to get that perspective. On the weekend, I was looking at a lot of swords cards in reverse. Now we have one upright for you. So as we're looking at next month, any sort of back steps that you had to take to kind of fix things, you now see kind of like a return on that and things pick up quite quickly. So I actually think you're going to be busy this month because you're coming through, galloping through all of this, right? With the Son of Swords or flying through in this particular deck. And I love what I see here, okay? Person, place, or thing that is not what it seems to be, that may be trying to hold you back. Whatever it is, you can sniff it out pretty quickly because we have the revelation energy. So this transmutes this. There could just be a cool Capricorn in your midst as well. We try not to read the devil always in the sort of negative. So there might be a really great business associate or something like that. But taking the Capricorn energy out, And again, if you're trying to find love, there could also be a Capricorn. But if we pull the Capricorn out and you don't know Capricorn, then this is really about limitations and a warning. So don't jump headfirst in any sort of situation until you have all of the required facts and figures in front of you. Be inquisitive, edit, revise, do whatever you need to get a contract to your liking. Don't sign something that doesn't feel right because you don't want to be limited, okay? All right, let's get away from El Diablo and move on to hopes, fears, and opportunities. We have a page card here. We have the Page of Cups or Daughter of Cups in this deck. I love that we see the sort of rainbow of colors there, showing also the balanced chakras, which is what we've been trying to help you with this month. So the key to that is through your heart, because that's what Cups is really closely connected to. But look at how strong the red is. The root chakra is the strongest in this particular illustration. So here's the thing. This daughter actually sees that it's a queen or king. And so it has the capacity to grow. The shadow's bigger, and it has a really strong root chakra, which is something I would associate with regal energy of the king and the queen. So you're more than you imagine. There's more than meets the eye. There's also more capacity for growth in your life than you may have imagined. And so all you have to do is gaze into the possibilities and look at the positive, which is something that I try to help us with. So yes, negative or critical, let's use that word. Critical thoughts are helpful because we can think through potential pitfalls. What if this happens? Good, I have a contingency plan. What if that happens? Great, I'll educate myself and get some insurance there. Once you've done enough of the critical thoughts, then you can think of the positive thoughts. Okay, I put all of these sort of like fail-safes into effect. Now I can focus on reaching up because I have the safety net, all right? You should be happy. Do you enjoy what you're doing at school, at work? Do you love who you're with in a relationship, in a friendship, in a coworker relationship? If the joy is missing from the equation, it constitutes the devil energy. Give your heart room to grow, because when it grows, your energy expands, and then it becomes this bigger, so I would imagine this is a goose or a duck. So it becomes the larger bird, let's just say that, okay? We can see the beautiful potential to become something bigger than you are and let your wings kind of spread and fly, okay? Let's look at your outcome here, and we have Daughter of Wands. So we have 2 pages, and it's interesting, we have 2 aces and 2 pages. So I'm seeing beautiful growth trajectory happening here. We have a little bit of a limit or a fear, but everything else, with exception to this card, is pretty good. So of the 10 cards, 8 of them are fantastic. 1 is completely avoidable, and 1 should be so clear that you absolutely know that that's not what you want to do. So it's not a difficult sort of month ahead in that respect. The Page of Wands reversed is saying, what is coming to me, it is not the way that I thought it would be. It didn't gel. Now, sometimes this can be good. Let's say you've been trying to problem solve and everything that you've tried to come up with hasn't been working. Maybe then you have a dream at night. It's completely, the antithesis of what that was. And all of a sudden you're like, well, let's try it. Or someone comes in and very frustrating to you. You've been trying to solve a problem. They're like, oh, you forgot to carry this number. Oh, you need to do this. And it's like, that's what's been vexing me. Thank you. But also, why didn't I see it? So keep an open mind. Again, something might be right in front of your face, and it's getting an external perspective could help you out with that. The other thing here is, if it's not good enough, these 2 cards are working together. Say no to this. This could be, so I've been talking about, I'm trying to get out of my current apartment, so I'm working with a realtor to find a new place. I've been working with different ones sometimes too, because they're not all equal. And sometimes they push you into things that aren't right, or they try to brush over things, and that's devil energy. Like if you walk into a building and you can tell it's not well kept, or you smell things, or you're noticing cracks in the foundation, like, oh, I'm sure that's nothing. Then I find a new agent. I want someone that's picking out the problems, not glossing over them or dusting over them. Helping me see it, saying like, nah, we're gonna get out of here. This isn't good enough for you, and this isn't what you've been looking for. Because otherwise they're an agent of their own sort of like happiness, right? So this is someone who's out for themselves. We want someone who's got their head on straight and is receptive to what you want, and is also critical enough to speak up and say, you can do better, or, even though this would be good commission, this isn't a good match for you. So don't say yes just because it's the only option in front of you, unless there's this ridiculous time frame or something. So make sure that you are making the right decision. We've all been pushed before. For me, it's happened also deep past, probably 15 years ago at least, maybe 18 years ago. But I was moving between jobs, and it was more than that. It was in the early 2000s. But it was like, I knew that they were offering me too little, but I just wanted to have something at that time. And then it ended up costing me money at the next job, because they look at your salary from the previous. And even though I was only there 6 months and the other job was 4 years, they took an average between the two. And I thought that was a bad decision. So don't take something just because it's easy or because you feel pressured to do it. Fight for the best option in front of you. And this is a time when it's good to be stubborn. So any of the court cards in Wands reversed indicate this sort of thought, I don't want to do it. This doesn't feel right, or this isn't what I wanted. Sometimes that's just your stubbornness. Sometimes it's there because it's protecting you. And it's no, I have an ideal in front of me, rather. An idea. I was trying to put the two together. An idea and an ideal. So you know what you want, and you also have an ideal version of what you want. And it's going to be somewhere in between the two, but it can't be completely missing the mark. Okay? Let's move into the expanded forecast, where we look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Now, what we're going to do here is dig a little deeper and get some better understandings in each of these areas. Each of them is multi-part. When I look at health, it's going to be mind, body, and spirit. Okay. So, one of my favorite cards, because it's just really cool looking here. We have Archangel Orion. And it says, manifesting miracles. Thank you, Orion, for manifesting your miracles in my world. A couple of images that this reminds me of. For those of you that have read Neil Gaiman's graphic novels, this reminds me of, I can't think of it right now, the name of it. It'll come back to me in a second. But The Sandman. So this reminds me of Morpheus, if the eyes were a little bit more starry. Or it looks like the old Doctor Who beginning. But either way, there's magic involved with this, and manifestation. So I like the connection to Morpheus, which is the personification of dreams in the Sandman novels. So if you can dream it, you can do it. If you can't dream it, or if you suspend your dreams and say, I don't want to go there because I don't want to be disappointed. Like I said earlier, stagnation is the antithesis of growth, and it's you holding yourself back from exploring things. So in order to manifest a miracle, you have to believe in the miracle. You have to believe that it's possible. You have to explore the possibility that something could happen. And that's what's being asked of you this month. The way to get out of the devil energy is to dream that there could be something better. That if there's a relationship and it's stuck, that there could be someone better than that. That if there's a job and you've reached a glass ceiling, that this isn't the place to be. That if you've made mistakes in your life. So there's a few other things that the devil can constitute, and this is a good time to talk about it. Poor decisions, limiting decisions, and also addictions. So this could be, drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be other substance or different types of abuse. It can also be people in your life that have treated you poorly or lied to you. Any of these things, you can dream that there's something better, and it's the hope and the dream and the reaching past that actually gets you out of this, because the one thing that the devil doesn't want is hope, because hope breaks those chains. And even if we think of horror movies out there, usually the way that you get through them is through hope and faith and bravery. So if you think of Pennywise the clown, he only fed off of fear. So when the kids weren't afraid, he shrank away, right? So that was actually a cool personification and a good weapon. It was hope and strength and a lack of fear and understanding your own power. So you have this potential to overcome even the scariest figure in your life, right? By just simply saying, I choose not to invest in that energy. That's the Six of Pentacles as well. And I see through you. You are transparent to me. In the book that I wrote, this is one of the tools that Gabriel uses against shadow energy. he basically says, I see what you are and it doesn't work on me. And that's what you can do with people and things in your life. You're like, you've shown me the lesson that I need to. So I learned the lesson. Why are you still here? You don't need to be here energetically as a teacher anymore. And it will cease. It will recede into the shadows and go and do things to someone else, but you don't have to worry about that. So your liberation is your decision that you see why you called it into your life, and you choose to act differently. You choose to shine your light in that, your light of truth onto that situation, and there is no longer a reason for it to exist. Whether it's a person, whether it's an activity, whether it's an environment, all of these things are lessons. The lessons cease to be important when you've graduated, and that's also what the Three of Pentacles is, okay? Let's go a little deeper. One more thing before I do this. I always like to remind folks the obvious here. I am a tarot reader. I am not a doctor or a therapist. What I am going to do, though, is illustrate ways that you can unlock things and make better decisions in your life. And then part of your free will can also be to work with a professional if you need help. That being said, let's look at the metaphysics of health this month. This is the key, and this is training. This is working on something that matters. This is taking your energy and really putting it into something that gives back. So the Three of Pentacles can be going to school, talking to someone, etc. But this is going to be a good investment. Don't let the fear of heights, of like trying to do something, get in the way of achieving that, okay? Let me see what else is coming through. Some of you, I would never read the Wheel of Fortune this way except in this deck, but some of you may be having some bad dreams because I see the dream catcher here. So setting intentions before you go to sleep is something you should do. I think I have a video probably from like 7 years ago that I did on this, but there are sleep rituals that you should have. So make sure that before you go to bed that you turn off the television, that if you want to listen to some sort of meditation music, that's fine. Or if you want to listen to an audiobook, I don't care. But make sure that you do turn that off before you go to bed. And at a certain point, you want to set intentions to receive insight from only the highest source. So at nighttime, you can pull in the 4 angels, archangels, into the 4 corners of your room, like Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, and then you can choose another one that you like Zerachiel or something like that, and just say, please protect me, guide me through dreams, and allow me to only connect with the highest light and highest energy of the universe. Archangelic or higher, or divine or higher. That way when you go to sleep, you have good dreams. If you're intuitive and you get a lot of messages and you just want a good night's sleep, you can say, please tonight allow me to sleep soundly. I just need rest. I need to prioritize rest over messages. You get to set the tone for your dreams, and you start to program them in this sort of manner. So you have the power. Make sure that you set this sort of protective net over you before you go to bed. Let's see. You have the ability to overcome any sort of addiction or limitation, but it may involve training, learning, partnering with somebody. Also, I see just a lot of great energy around you. So we have some younger, it's all younger energy too, with the sun, and the 2 daughters, so a knight and 2 pages. So this is one of the reasons it might be nice to get involved in an activity. You might, these are also learning cards too. So you may be learning and mentoring. You also might be really connecting with fellow students or peers. And I like that sort of energy around you as well. So that's the key to kind of make things move. It might be getting involved in some sort of extracurricular or club or social sphere. And I do see some sort of more youthful, even if it's the same age, there's more youthful energy within these people, younger souls perhaps, or younger energy. But aside from the devil, which is a limit or something that you know you need to overcome, everything looks pretty good to me with respect to your health. The only exception being maybe how much sleep you're getting, or the quality of sleep, or the dreams. So this is the main focus, and you already have the capacity to overcome it. Again, this card, no matter how you shake it up, is always in the upright position. So think about what you're going to do to get past this, and then it's smooth sailing after that. Okay, let me see if there's anything else that's going on here. I think that's pretty much it. Again, just a decision here. If there's someone or something that kind of drives you crazy and gets under your skin, that's what this is. It's just not worth it. Move up, move on, move out, move. This is causing you to stand still. Let's move on to money here and wealth. So I'll pull the card up close here, but let me read it first. It says, retreating to recharge, trusting in the process. So for some of you, you need to kind of take a step back. And you're going to decide at this point in time that even though, maybe you worked really hard to get to a certain pinnacle in your life or a certain place, it didn't pan out the way you wanted, and you need to reset or recharge. I don't necessarily think that you need to walk away. This can just be like taking a vacation, taking an afternoon, or just making some time to talk it out. Get the bird's eye view of it and think, how far have I come? Why am I here? What do I want to do next? How is this situation matching up with those expectations? So take a holiday, take a sabbatical. The card that I would ascribe to this one in tarot might be the Eight of Cups. Walking away and then coming back with new perspective, with new information, but not just walking away. You may eventually decide to make the Eight of Cups the Six of Swords, which is saying like, I'm going to just move on, but you have to first kind of step away and think, what do I want? Because otherwise you're just moving without a clear idea of what's next. And I really want intention to be a part of this next journey for you so that you stick the landing, so to speak. If we're thinking of like sports, you land and you're perfect and you get off to the next part of your life in a great sort of space. All right, let's specifically look at this for those of you that are, I'm going to break it down. I don't always do this for resources, but we're going to do phases of life and then maybe two different elements of being in a job or not being in a job. So first thing is for those of you that are studying as a student. It does feel like there's someone around you that may not be a great influence. There might also be, some of you are on a path that you just don't want to be on anymore. So here's the thing. If you are freshman or sophomore, for some reason you have more of a permission to change. But even as you go further into your career as a student, you can always shift. I decided to do something radically different than my undergraduate as my graduate. So I did journalism for undergraduate in English and public relations kind of focus. And I thought, this isn't what I want to do. So I decided to go more technology focused and do a film degree, but like I learned how to edit and I learned all kinds of basically new media at the time, which is what I'm still doing right now. So it was a good culmination of the skills. And then I use my sort of inquisitive skills in everything that I'm doing. So the two blended, but I knew I couldn't just stop with that or that wasn't what I wanted as a permanent sort of career trajectory. So it meant that I had to spend 2 more years and a decent chunk of money to do the different path, but it was okay. So it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. It was worth the time and the energy and the money. I didn't know what I wanted 100% until I went through some of that other stuff. So no problem there. But like, again, some people thought, well, why are you going back? Why are you doing more? And that was why, because I just knew that it wasn't finished. I knew I needed to shift and I needed a different focus. So that can come through during your schooling. It can happen 10 years into your career. You could be retired and decide that you want to go back to school. So whatever it is, it's never too early. It's never too late to fix. So maybe the exception on this is if you've been going to school for 10 years. But I'm saying like at some point, you'll pick a path. But if it's a couple years into a program or even just after your first degree, you can always change the perspective of something. Give yourself that chance. Now looking at people that are mid-career, you're working. You may be in a place that doesn't use the skills that you have, that doesn't let you try on new things because they've pigeonholed you, because that's what this card can represent. You've been put into a box that doesn't fit and you have all this room for growth, but your boss or the place, they're not going to listen. So it's time to move on in that case for sure, because we've reached a glass ceiling. Either that or you're going to have to find someone else that's an advocate that can help you sort of jump past this hurdle. This isn't it though. You get to try new things and it's okay if you want to go in a different direction, okay? And for those of you that are retired, you're also not stuck. It feels like some of you want to maybe teach or mentor, because this is also a teaching card, and being around youthful energy would be great for you, because I mentioned earlier how young all of these cards were. So I definitely get a school vibe here and a learning vibe and a knowledge exchange vibe when I'm looking at all of that, okay? So what else was I going to look at? If you're job seeking right now, You may be up at a little bit of a sort of a brick wall. There's a lot of competition. So what are you doing to stand out? That's going to be the important thing. How are you going to make a splash? For those of you that are trying to find employment right now, think about also trying a different path altogether. So what I was saying earlier, like I thought I'd be working for a newspaper or maybe a television network, broadcast news or something like that. I'm so glad that wasn't my path. It seemed interesting at the time, but I'm still broadcasting, but I get to push all the buttons in the control booth here, right? So, you never know how it's going to be. So try something different. Try a different path and repackage your skills. They can be used in the same way. They can be used in a different way to kind of accomplish something that you never imagined. But you don't know until you try. So we're going back into that fool energy from earlier. All right, I think that constitutes everything with respect to career and money. So now that we've looked at wealth, let's look at love. We have a great card with respect to love. It's harmony and resolution. Some of you may have a Libra placement. This is very Libra-like. But you also may just be a peacekeeper yourself. And the Empress card at the center shows me that some of you are willing to give until there's nothing left to give. Give until it hurts, and you don't have to do that all the time. Remember, it's give and take. Harmony represents that. Now, the resolution piece is interesting. Sometimes it's like saying goodbye or walking away is difficult, but it is going to create the harmony. So if getting away from a restrictive sort of energy is what you need, it's absolutely supported by this card. Now let's look at relationships in 3 different lights. For those of you that are in a relationship, and it can be romantic or just the most significant relationship in your life. Usually love is a part of that. So whether it's a best friend or a family member, it's a different type of love, but it's still love. So the key relationship, we'll look at that first. Then for those of you seeking out a partnership and those of you that are single and happy. For the key relationship, whether it's love or just a strong bond, here's what's going on. Well, you guys have worked really hard to get where you're at. The Wheel of Fortune shows me a karmic cycle has been completed. So when you come into this life, a lot of times there can be positive energy, karma lessons. There can also be things that we haven't resolved. It feels like to me you have a chance to check off a big item this lifetime. So maybe there was a debt owed. Maybe there was a lesson that needed to be taught. Maybe you wanted to be around this person to learn something. Whatever it is, at the end of this month, it's done. Now you get to decide, am I staying because it's comfortable, because they want me to stay, or because there's still value here? So these cards have to go against one another, and you have to be like the scales of justice and decide, is this worth it still? And the free will comes into play here. There is a liberation that happens in many relationships where you reclaim power. You might also see someone as not being as perfect as you thought they were. A lot of times we put parents on a pedestal. We can put friends as well on a pedestal. And what happens is we see them falter sometimes, or we learn something about them. The interesting thing is that the older that you get, I'm sure many of you that are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, etc. You know that you look at your life and you think, gosh, how did my parents deal with what they were dealing with at that age? Maybe you're at the age that they were when they had you, or that, maybe this is your first time doing something big, buying a car, buying a house, doing something of that nature. And you just think to yourself, it was harder than I gave them credit for. So they weren't as perfect as I thought. I'm not as perfect as I thought. This is going to be challenging. And so sometimes the devil's there to show you just the imperfections and giving you a different view of someone, which then gives you hope and faith for yourself, because if they did it, you can do it. And just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean that you can't do it. This is not as limiting as it thinks. It's an imperfect card at best. So you can overcome this. It's just something that all people have to deal with, is this sort of shadow of doubt. So that's one thing here. A karmic lesson has been completed. Someone's not as perfect as you thought they were. And now you get to decide what you're going to do about that. There could be some sort of a deception or half-truth that comes out, or an out-and-out lie, but it is going to come out. And the outcome card, the last 2 cards are actually pretty good, Daughter of Cups and Daughter of Wands. You have to think this through, but we still have partnership energy here. Whenever I see two of the same level, whether it's pages or knights or queens or kings, it tells me that you guys are seeing eye to eye. There's a different sort of communication here. One is very sensitive and just very kind of open and listening, and the other one is acting things out. If the other partner in your life is acting things out and it's not the best behavior, this is going to be indicative of what you need to do. So remember, you don't have to argue. It feels like you're not going to argue. You're watching and you're remembering, I'm more than this. They may be less than I thought, but now I get to decide what I want to do. Is there potential for growth, or is it time to move on? It does feel like you're at a precipice in some key relationships. The rest of it, like let's say you decide to stay, then what's the next part of the journey? If the lesson's been learned, what are you going to do next? How can the two of you kind of work together? What's the common goal? What's the common interest? I think that's the important question in existing relationships. Rekindling the spark is also important for some of you. That may be lacking. The physicality or the intimacy isn't where it used to be, so you're going to bring that back. Whenever I see Ace of Wands, and particularly when paired with the Devil, there could be that. And you can't fake that sort of connection if it's not there. And if the other person isn't working on it, that's something to talk about. But with exception to this, the rest of the cards are very good. Some of you might just be working too hard, and it's a question of this person's kind of jealous of the work, or could be jealous of the time you're spending with friends, with family, with children. And again, that needs to be balanced out. That's not healthy behavior. So that's the big challenge, is it seems like there's something unhealthy with the partner this month, and you're going to either try to support them, or you're going to see that for what it is and decide maybe to move in a different direction. For those of you that are looking for love this month, you may need to move. This is an environmental card, so something with your job or your living situation isn't what it should be. If you are looking to move on to a new relationship, but you just got over one, this is rebounding energy as well. So make sure that this person's out of the picture before you go into the next phase of dating. You have options, lots of options actually. What do you want? What are you looking for? Make sure that that's matching up. Remember what I said earlier, that you don't have to settle for the first person or the only person that came along. Make sure that it feels right to you. You're pretty busy this month as well. This could be a limiting force. So scheduling across all relationships this month will be one of the challenges. You could just be meeting an amazing Capricorn as well. I try to remind myself sometimes that that's just Capricorn energy. And finally, for those of you that are single and happy, I still feel like there's something about where you're at right now that the universe is basically saying there's more than this. There's even more than you imagine. So for you, whether it's work or love, open your mind up, because there's more people and more options in front of you. And you may think that you're not looking for something, but maybe it's right there, particularly because you're detached from it. So it's not unusual when I'm looking at single and happy that a lot of times I see love coming in, because you don't need it. You don't even want it. So the universe throws it in your direction and says, well, maybe it's something you should check out. So I see some sort of an unusual opportunity in front of you. Don't limit yourself just because you weren't looking for it. And that's the message there. All right, let's move on to your destiny card. And we have the vulture here, a bird of prey, also something that kind of takes scraps and leftovers sometimes. So remember this, you don't have to take, again, there's this sort of persistent message that you don't have to settle. And that's kind of what I get with the vulture sometimes, is it will settle for whatever it can find. You don't have to do that. Now, the vulture is also a fierce bird of prey. So if there's something you want, you have a good chance of getting it. So the vulture has multiple meanings, and I always look at the positive and then sometimes the shadow energy when I'm looking at a totem. And you get both with that particular one. Clean things up. I don't think of this being a super clean bird. It is like nature's cleaner. It goes out there and gets rid of the stuff that no one else will. And you may be asked to do that right now. Someone may say, you're the only person that I know that can make this right. But you don't have to do people's dirty work for them, okay? So the vulture has so many different meanings on it. Depending on who you are, you'll get the right message. But remember, you're not the cleanup crew. It's important for you to clean up aspects of your life. So by all means, do it for yourself, but you don't have to do it for everyone else. You don't have to settle for anyone's scraps. And if you want something, you have a good chance of getting it. So it's Not the prettiest bird to look at, but it has some really powerful messages. So I love all totems. Even if you give me something creepy and crawly, I can find something beautiful about it. All right, so let's move on to the interactive portion here. One more thing before I do that, though, we're going to look at the big idea. The big idea is something that's going to, just like that beautiful Hierophant card with a key on it, it's going to help you find the key to success. So let's look at what you should focus on right now. Okay, we literally had a card flip out of the deck, and it's the partner to the Empress. Isn't it cool that they didn't make one better or worse? They're both trees. We have the nocturnal Empress. We have the sort of daytime Emperor here. So as an answer to the question, you've had the power. You've always had the power to do what you want. We see balance here, yin and yang energy. And it's okay now to take that next step. So I said this is developmental and receptive. This is developmental and receptive as well. This is active. So what I think is happening for many of you is towards the end of the next month, and since we're doing this way in advance, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be able to reach and achieve and do what you need to do. This is about as empowered as you can get in the major arcana, and it's basically taking the reins and deciding where it needs to go next. So you call the shots, and it's your turn to speak up and decide when, where, how, if, etc. So the key to success is stepping into your power, stepping into the light, okay? I mentioned before when this card comes through, you can kind of see that the sun is eclipsed. Sometimes we don't see our power or appreciate our power or an opportunity until it's missing a little bit. So some of you may have gone through something where there was a period of loss, or someone left your life or something left your life, and then all of a sudden, in the absence of that, your power, your light, your extra energy shows through, because you can see the corona of the sun when the moon is in front of it. So that extra bit of light, the flare that makes you sort of amazing, because that's what we see, are some of those solar flares there. It's shining through right now. So definitely step into your power right now, because you're going to surprise other people, yourself included. Let's move on to blessings and blocks and look at things to embrace and things that we might need to work on a little bit. Blessing, block. All right, we have a blessing in disguise here. So we have the Nine of Swords. It is not the prettiest card, I have to say. I wish they would have done something else in this deck. But we see worms and creepy crawlies, and they're cleaning things off in the same way that the vulture would have. And here's the thing. With the Nine of Swords, we're often shown things that we don't want to see in order to fix something in our lives. Dreams are typically dreams and nightmares. They are the areas in which we can't hide from the truth. Therefore, they are scary but useful. So if something in your life is making you nervous or anxious, or you have a nightmare, or you're dreaming about it, or it's kind of occupying your head, what you want to do is go through, and it's kind of a combination of these two not so pretty cards, but it's basically that's the universe saying, clean this up. Clean it up so I don't have to give you tower energy. And then also at a certain point, move beyond it, because as I said, fears can be overcome through education, through talking to someone, and through simply taking the leap at some point, the leap of faith. So the card in reverse says it's not as bad as it seems. You're building something up. Let's look at the traditional card, because I just really don't want to look at all the worms on that one. But the traditional card would show someone at nighttime, and you see all the swords above them. And it's clear to someone on the outside looking in, here we go, that this person's making it harder than they need to make it. That there's no need for... The 9 and the 10 of swords are super dramatic. All of the upper swords actually are, I would say, starting with 8. The 8, the person feels trapped. The 9, they feel like everything's going to go wrong. And then the 10 of swords, stress, anxiety, health, something's caused them to just put it all out there. And usually there's regret as a source or as a result of that. So you don't have to go there. It's take a deep breath, take a step back, get the bird's eye view, take ownership of this sort of situation too, and just choose to not let this overcome you, okay? So focus on how much sleep you're getting, by the way, and make sure that you're getting enough rest, you're taking enough time off, that you're not sort of burning the candle at both ends. All of these things are going to be important. But the blessing is it'll go better than you think. But the block in that blessing is that you're making it hard on yourself. So you either hold yourself to too high of a sort of bar of excellence, or you're worrying too much about someone else and you're giving them more power than you need to. You hold the key, you have the power, you want to focus on that. All right, the block here is that someone is very comfortable with saying no, with giving you feedback. And also some of you are afraid of your own words or your own actions being graded or somehow viewed by these other people in your life. Your voice will carry and people will pay attention to you. That's a good thing. So you have a blessing in disguise and a block that's actually a blessing. So the best way that I can put it, it's almost as if they were reversed this month, is things aren't as bad as they seem, and you have almost no choice except to take action and to speak up. Yes, you're going to be noticed, but that's actually a good thing. And if somebody says something and you don't like it, then really kind of evaluate who that person is and why they hold so much power. And if they said it without tact or without concern for you, then it also kind of begs you to think, like, why am I giving that person so, like, I can take them off the pedestal because they're lacking empathy. They didn't have good timing. They didn't have good sense. They're not worth it. So you, however, are worth it, and we don't want to silence this voice, okay? So your voice and your actions can cut through things this month. You just might be afraid of it because then the comfort zone, it's so weird. This is the devil you know, and this is you cutting through the devil you know, and it's going to be okay, all right? Let's move on to the viewers and readers' choice next. We're going to take a look at the cards on the table. I'll give you a chance to vote on some topics, and I'll pick a couple as well. All right. So let me go ahead and get the poll set up here, and then you can vote on it once I've set the poll up. All right. Looking at the cards in front of us. So I'm going to choose this, so don't worry about it. I'm going to look at the limitation. Let's look at some of the other stuff here. All right, what is coming through and calling through? Okay, so how and when to speak up is one thing that I think would be great to look at. How and when to speak up. The next thing that I'd like to look at is when we're looking at the Five of Swords, knowing when it's right, kind of like knowing when to walk away. When to walk away, and then stay or go with the harmony and resolution, to stay or to go. This can be in a relationship or in a work sort of environment as well. So we're basically clearing out whatever's toxic here. So some heavier sort of energies, but they came through. I want to look at this. What is this about? What's the limit and how to overcome the limit? So we're going to take a look at the Devil card and figure out how to overcome that limit. It's too important to miss. It's time to move on, is what we see with this one. We've got the Fool card, which was part of our channel messages. So the Fool is reversed. This Fool is adorable. A little baby bird, barely ready to kind of leave the nest. So for many of you, there is this internal question, can I do it? Am I ready? Will I fly? The little baby bird sometimes has to be nudged by the mama bird, right? Sometimes that energy isn't there anymore. So many of you may not have a parent that you can depend on, or if you're like me, your parents may be in spirit, and it's sort of like you have to be both mama, papa, and also baby bird and kind of push yourself out there. So this is where, again, you've always had the capacity to do this. You can do it right now as well. It's time to move on, but it's easier to stay. And that's really what I'm getting with the Devil energy. We see the bird clinging to the branch, and we see the Devil happy that the bird is sort of where it wants it to be. So you have more power than this energy wants you to believe. and you're further developed than you feel, because when we look at this card here, we can already see the shadow of what will be, which is positive. And this is more who you are, because this is in hopes, fears, and opportunities. So this is right around the corner. This is how you feel. So you are already there, or you will be there within this month. This is a shadow from the past. This is a fear that you're going to fall. And that's always a part of the Fool card. This time, the artist chose well. I love how they did this. So a bird, if it doesn't fly correctly, will fall. And when we look at the traditional Fool in tarot, we see someone right on the precipice. I'll pull up my slide because I had it ready there. But basically, we have someone that could take one misstep and fall over the ledge. And there's always that fear of, will I be okay? That's just part of movement. That's just part of change. So it's about the calculated leap of faith. So I'm so happy that the Fool came through. You're going to be okay, and that's the message here. Remember, if you have to choose between stagnation and movement, movement is better 99% of the time, unless there's a very, very major risk associated with it. Okay, so it's time to move on. That's really what this is saying. The how, the when, the why, that's up to you. Let's look at what you chose for me. How and when to speak up. Okay, good. This could possibly work in tandem with what we just talked about, because some of you might have to decide what to do about it, when to do it, etc. All right, how and when to speak up. Beautiful Three of Wands energy coming through. Let's look at this a little closer and talk about it. All right, so the Three of Wands to me shows me that it's already ready. So traditionally you would see someone at the top of a hill and they look at the ships coming in on the horizon. There are different types of Three of Wands where sometimes you'll see the person at the dock, sometimes they're even meeting them on the ship. This one is a little more abstract, and it's saying, if you aren't looking, then you won't see it. Because I look at this almost as like a mirror or a portal. If you're looking in the wrong direction, you might be missing the fact that your ship is already coming in. So how and when to speak up? I would say within the next 3 weeks, because we have the Three of Wands. How to speak up. You want to speak in the affirmative. So speak with the possibilities. So if it is about something that's not happening, you want to be going into a situation with data and solutions. So you would say, I know that this has been a challenge. I know we've had this conversation a few times. I've done the legwork, and I know a way that this can be solved. And you can just state it. You don't even have to ask them. Just say, I'm just letting you know that this is the path that I'm moving towards. And then see what they say. If you don't want to ask permission, if you've made a decision. If you need their support or buy-in, you could say, give me a compelling reason why we shouldn't do this, because we've tried everything else and it isn't working. This looks compelling. And if you can't give me a really compelling reason why it isn't going to work, then let's do it. So make it easy for someone to say yes. Focus on all of the positives. Act before the month is up. 3 days, 3 weeks, there's the power of 3 there. Definitely within the quarter of this year as well. And let me see what else we would look at with this. And look at it from all perspectives. We have sort of a prism in here as well. P-R-I-S-M. Prism, not prison. The prism means that we're looking at all of the potential, all of the different ways to do it. And when you show your research or talk about what's happening, let them know that you looked at it from every different angle. This will liberate you. This will free you. This will make things happen faster. And so the good news with the Three of Wands is that it'll work out. It's an optimistic card. And if something does fall apart with that one person, the fact that you see another way, be willing to call your own bluff. For some of you, when we're looking at the devil, the Three of Wands is telling me line something else up. Line up a new job, or if you've been trying to date someone and they're not interested, start talking to other people and say, listen, I have people that are interested in hanging out with me and they aren't so possessive, they aren't so crazy. I think it's time for me to move on. Have your safety net, have your next step so that you feel good and that you actually do have something to move on to. You may get a chance to go back and get what you want with that other person, but remember how far it took for you to get there. And remember my message earlier. There's diminishing returns when you use the Five of Swords against this sort of energy. You're going to have to keep pushing more and more each time. So maybe you win this, but in the future you may not be able to. So it's a short-term game, and you're going to gain, rather, and you're going to have to eventually stop doing that and move on. So inevitably, we see movement. You can do it. You can find something new, and you can take that leap and make that happen. All right? So I see you unlocking an opportunity, getting out of a situation that you don't like, and it's going to be better for you in the long run. All right. Let's move into a fairly new portion of these readings. I've been only doing this for a month. We're going to be looking at specific messages to sun, rising, and moon. Let's pull the cards first and then talk about what's coming through. All the fun stuff is happening in sun, rising, and moon, isn't it? All right, let's talk about it. We'll begin with the sun card. And so this is for anybody that's born in the sign of Gemini. This is basically showing what it's all about this month. So it's an exciting month. We did get the Tower here. Change is necessary. The question that the Tower always begs is, are you going to make the change, or are you going to wait for the change to happen to you? So you can be the bolts of lightning. You don't have to wait for something to come through. And by the way, this month, all of the tree cards indicate power, right? The Emperor and the Empress were indicated by trees. And your, the big idea card was the Emperor. So for many of you, you're going to step up. You're going to become basically what you've always wanted to become. You can't stay because the growth is inhibited or not supported by where you're at. And something is going to happen where you don't want to be there. So in a company, this could be a takeover or a layoff. In a relationship, things could get even trickier than you think they're going to get. In a place that you're living, like where I'm at with the construction, maybe a wall is going to collapse or something. There's more that's going to happen. So get out now and be an agent of change and use what you can to rebuild. You have the power to be strong, and someone doesn't want you to have that power. And that's why the lightning's coming in and striking the representation of the Emperor here in this particular card. And this whole reading was about reclaiming your power. So the reveal here for you, for the sun sign, is basically you have the power and someone else doesn't want you to see it. So they're going to do something that distracts you. The Tower also just indicates in its positive form a move or a change, just like death. It's bigger, though, on some levels, and it's a little bit louder, and it's a little bit more obvious. You have to do it usually in a timely manner. So there's a change that must happen within the next 6 to 8 weeks in order to help you get to the next level. So either you do it or the universe comes in and makes it happen. So now's the time to make a change. The question about timing is answered for sun sign as now, within the next couple of months, okay? Let's move on from sun and take a look at rising and ascendant messages. So where the sun represents who you kind of are at your core, rising and ascendant instead represents how you want to be perceived by others. So this is often part of like work relationships, social relationships, and just anything that you're doing out in the public. So this is checking in on how you're showing up. Your message is, for many of you, there's a sense of disbelief. So the Judgment card in and of itself is beautiful. We see all of these birds and one rising above the rest. We see light rising above shadow, and we see belief rising above disbelief. But when the card is reversed, there can be pressure. And it's saying, am I truly what they say I am? Can I truly do what I think I want to do? Is my dream valid? Is my worth valid? Do I value myself? The answer to all of those things should be yes. Yes, you're deserving of the opportunity. Yes, you're worth it. Yes, you can do it. And yes, it's time to rise above. And even if you went through something like this, where it feels like things fell apart, for my rising signs out there, this is saying, but you have a second chance. Judgment is you writing a new chapter and you deciding like that this isn't over. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. So Here's the thing that people are asking you, though, when they're looking at you. Judgment reverse is there's something going on where they're thinking like there's a seed of doubt. So you have a seed of doubt somehow where you are not trusting in the speed with which things can change, the value that you can bring to an equation, or the fact that this is how it is. And so judgment is asking you to embrace the possibility and embrace your power. Okay? Because if you do that, others will do the same. If you don't, they don't know why. They can't put their finger on it exactly. But for some reason, they're going to say, pass on this. I'm going to go with this person instead. Okay? So I don't want you to be passed on, whether it's a relationship or a job or a friendship, because you're a sure bet. You just have to believe that yourself. Second chances, new beginnings, fresh starts. That's really what judgment is bringing through for all the rising signs out there. Don't be afraid to change your course or change your mind. We don't have to keep the same viewpoint that we had when we were 18, when we're like 30 or 50 or 80. Our life and our experiences teach us things so that what we thought we'd be doing for a living and even who we decided to marry may change over time. Like the relationship could fall apart, we could grow, someone that we didn't think we loved, we might love. Things can change on a core level. So allow yourself to have that change of heart. It's valid. Moving on to the moon sign, the part of ourselves sometimes that we even keep from ourselves. There's a lot of discovery in this area. It can show up in relationships even though it's not Venus. It's the secret power, it's the secrets, it's the unknown, it's the sort of inner discovery. And it's pretty positive this month. 2 of Wands. You could surprise yourself, you could surprise someone else. So go after that secret dream. Share that secret skill. Let people know that you're more than meets the eye, that there's something really cool that you have to bring to the equation. It's all positive for Moon. Sun and Rising have a lot more work to do than Gemini Moon. With Gemini Moon, I think really all you have to do is open your mouth and let people know. Let them share this sort of dream or this vision. Really good card for brainstorming, for those of you that might be engineers or creating something new. There is this sort of, you have a sticky quality on anything that you put out there, whether you're writing it, speaking it, or doing it. People want a little bit more of that, and they're going to be very attracted to it. And they're going to ask why you didn't talk about this before. And that's the sort of secret side of the moon. Sometimes maybe you weren't ready to see it. But this month, if you're ready and willing to see something, I feel like the moon sign has possibly the most power to kind of spin everything in a positive direction. And just kind of like looking at the overview of all of these, with the sun sign, the change here has to happen pretty quickly, and it'll be okay. And part of you, like many of you, want to just kind of step straight into the next thing. So have that backup lined up like I talked about. For the rising, it's already happened. You might have already pulled the Band-Aid off, but you're wondering, will I be okay? And you will be okay. And again, I just feel like Moon can have a fun time this month. You can surprise this person. They don't think something's possible, and you pull a rabbit out of your sleeve and say, it's not only possible, but here you go. So you actually get a chance to be right and show them. So I feel like there's really great energy. Nobody's stuck this month. These are all powerful cards. This one you get to make the change. In this one, you just have to believe and accept the fact that change is happening. And in this one, you get to show people something they didn't know. So all of them are powerful cards, even the Minor Arcana 2 of Wands, because that one usually pairs up with the Magician or High Priestess. So that's its like sister or cousin card. So I already see the manifestation happening, or it's happened. Okay? Really cool stuff for you. All right, before we move into the meditation and final card, just to remember that we're really close to a milestone, actually. And I would love to do a bonus reading when I hit 325,000. So we're just about 3 away from that. I think we can accomplish that in about a month. So if you do it, maybe I can kick off next month with a special Q&A, which I like to do when we hit milestones. And just so I can do them more often, I decided to do them for now on the every 25,000, I'll do a Q&A. So those are always fun. And then everybody gets a chance to kind of like participate and help out with that. So hit the subscribe button if you have never hit it before so we can get closer to that. My start time will eventually go back to normal. I think that they're getting close to finishing construction upstairs. So when that's done, maybe by next month, I can go back to normal, and then I'll be moving hopefully in the next few months, and I won't have to do this so early. But hit the bell icon so that you know when I change my times. Follow me on social media as well. I always put reminders in stories, particularly Facebook, Instagram, and I always tweet out things as well on Twitter. So my user handle's at Nicholas Ashbaugh, except for Twitter, which is nashbaugh. So that's how you know me. Remember that if anyone says they have a second account or they try to message you, that's not me. The only way that we talk is in a live reading just like this. Let's see. Also, if you would like to show some support, it helps with me being able to do new videos. In fact, I'm doing 2 bonuses now per month because of your support. So if you'd like to show a little bit of love, you can do it through Super Chat, SuperStickers, or memberships. It's all optional. There's also a thanks button on replay if you'd like to do it there. All right, let's get ready for the meditation. Today, I think the most important thing we could do is to give you this sort of feeling of liberation, of being able to break through. So I'm going to give you a chance to vote on the instrument, and then we're going to set up the meditation, and I'm going to help you release. We're going to do chord cutting, because to me, that's also what the devil can represent. So the 2 instruments that I'll be able to play, crystal pyramid and also the singing bowl. So go ahead and vote for either of those, and let's get set up in the meditation. Whatever question you have for me, write it down so you don't forget about it, and then just close your eyes and allow yourself to let go. We're going to let go of whatever the limiting thought or activity or person is in your life and allow you to be free. As you close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and on the exhale, relax your shoulders, your neck, and your back. Sink back into your chair or lay down if you want to. Just listen to the sound of my voice and allow your thoughts like a raft to kind of drift away. As you're laying down or sitting back in your chair, I want you to imagine that you're on the beach. You can feel the warm sand beneath you, and the sun is perfectly overhead. And it's shining down on you so perfectly that it creates a circle of light and energy in the sand around you. You can reinforce that by drawing it with your hands and setting an intention that within this space, only the highest energy can come through. And you can imagine that the sun represents not only a celestial body in our own solar system, but it's a representation of your soul, of your highest light. So as you bask in this celestial light and your higher self, anything that needs to go away, anything that has been holding you back from the energetic flow in your body, now is revealed. You can imagine that you're grounded because you're on the earth, but you're able to kind of rise up just enough, astrally project, and look down at your body. As you look down at your body, you have the capacity to use your hands to kind of clear out the energy. Any blocks that are there, it's almost like playing an instrument. You can kind of work through all of the rays of light until they are clean. So imagine that you're going through almost like a harp or a guitar, and there's these rays of light that are crossing your body, and you're going to move across them until they make a sound, till they vibrate, and until they shake away or move away any sort of heavier energy. And if you notice any chords that are not chords of light, you can go into there with your hand and just pinch that chord and pull it out, and then you see it like basically like a tape measure go back into its source. That didn't need to be there. That was someone else, something else that was kind of tapping into your energy. So just gently pull it out like you're weeding, like if you've ever done that in a garden. You're just pulling out the weeds, and they're these little tiny chords, and once you let it go, you can see it go back to source. Now, the only thing that's entering your energetic body are these rays of light. They're either coming out or they're entering in, but there's nothing that's of a darker or heavier energy. You've pulled them all out. At this point, allow your solar plexus to light up, and now there are no rays of light. It is just a big disk of energy, and this is you now. So nothing can enter that isn't of the highest realm of energy, and nothing will unless you want it to. You've cleared out every possible chakra system. As we meditate here and as I play the crystal pyramid, continue to see your light, your disk of energy grow And if you want to reach out now with your own rays of light, you can imagine that you're blessing your future path. You can see new love, new opportunity, new money, new development on the path ahead of you. Okay? Relax, enjoy, and we'll take a look at your final card here in just a minute. Take a nice deep breath. Allow that energy that you've been building and connecting with to stay with you each and every day of your life, knowing that as you move forward on this path, you've always had the power, but now you really feel that you have that power to make things happen. Take a moment to rub your hands together. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that. Set an intention to do something, to create a change, to make the movement that we were seeing with the Tower of the Judgment and the Two of Wands cards, and just know that your prayer and your intention has been received. Open your eyes if you haven't already. Welcome back. I want you to think about your final question that you have for me, and I'll pull the final card. Hold that in your mind and in your heart while I shuffle the cards, and let's see what's coming through for you. So we have a really beautiful card as your final card here. It is the Father of Cups, which is the King of Cups. In a yes-no, this is a yes. What I love about this one is it almost looks like it's raining, right? But this particular card is saying, I can get through this. I will get through this. So it's a perseverance through a tricky or challenging period. And it's always reaching higher, always looking for that sort of silver lining. And I like that. And I think that's going to be a key to the success and to being able to accomplish what we see with the Father of Cups. The Five of Cups we talked about at the beginning as being the, for some of you, Five of Pentacles and Five of Cups. Five of Cups, by the way, would be a perspective shift. Five of Pentacles is that inner value that we sometimes lack. So remember to look towards the positive. That's what the King of Cups would do. And with the Five of Pentacles, we're no longer relying on other people for validation. You got the Emperor card earlier, which said, you can do this. We have a lot of change cards here, which are saying that it's time to shift out of something. And focusing on affirmative and positive momentum is going to be key here. So it is a good time for love, by the way, with the Father of Cups or with the King of Cups. So some of you might be pulling in a beautiful water sign in your life. The only thing that I would say again with love this month is to make sure that you're ready for it and that you don't get afraid, or that you're fully available or they're fully available. Once that's been checked off the list, then there's nothing to be afraid of, and it's time to move forward. But King of Cups is great energy. Expressive, also very creative. So if you are looking to do something new, you can channel new ideas this month as well. All right, pretty positive. There's nothing in this card that I can really speak negatively about. The only thing that I would say again is it does look like I see some rain in this card. So don't let one setback somehow shift your attention away from something that is positive. That's the one critical piece that I can bring in with that, just because of the illustration style. All right, my friends, that is this reading for this month. I just want to say thank you so much for being present, for sharing your energy and working on yourself. Before I get into the gratitude, one more quick reminder. If you would like to take a look at my schedule, you can look at the website. It's right here. I also posted that and pinned that link a little bit earlier. Now let's just say thank you. All right, so for everybody that, I already noticed I have a bunch of long-term members here, so thank you so much for your support ongoing. And I know a lot of you have been longtime subscribers as well, so thank you. Now I'm going to welcome any new members here that happen to join today, and anyone that gave back with a super sticker or super chat. So beginning with the new members, let's see who joined. It actually looks like everybody I mentioned yesterday on the weekend collective, so no new members today, I don't think. So we're good in that category. So let's take a look at super stickers and super chat and welcome those folks here. So we'll begin with Jilly's art. Thank you so much for kicking things off today. Raven MC, thank you as well. Debbie McGinnis, Soul to Soul, and Joy Christine. We have a smaller list today, which means I can say it slow and really say thank you to each and every one of you. The remaining schedule for this week, as you know, I am always live with monthly readings on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So I'll be back Thursday and Friday to look at Cancer and Leo, respectively. And then on the weekend, I will be back for the collective. And then next Monday, Thursday, and Friday, I would be doing, of course, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. Actually, I believe we have a bonus reading coming in the following week. So let me go to my website, because I'm doing something special in addition to that, which is going to be a Pride-themed one, which is about being the authentic you. Everybody can come, because we've all gone through moments in our life where we have to say something that we need to say, where someone doesn't accept us for who we are, where we need to kind of practice and work on self-love. So let me just give you the dates for that. So Virgo will be next Monday. I'm going to actually work Tuesday, so it'll be like 3 days in a row that I'll be live, and that's the bonus. And then Libra and Scorpio on Thursday, Friday. So next week I'll actually be here 4 days for you. But this week it's just the 3 in the week. So check out my schedule. I'm going to post a link to it right now in case you didn't know that I do schedules. I update them as I have the links ready, etc. But there we go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time, your energy, and for being a part of this reading today. I do appreciate it. And I hope that you have a fantastic week ahead and a fantastic month ahead. Much love and light to all of you. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.